Hi everyone, I'm Pete Wright with LexJet, and I'm joined today by Brian Ebinger of XCEL. Brian, how are you doing today?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Very good. You guys have some really cool stuff. I've been seeing these frames everywhere, and I didn't realize that all the cool stuff I was seeing was your stuff out there. I've seen displays at trade shows, malls, all over the place, and now I get a chance to ask the expert all these questions that I've been waiting to learn more about. So talk to me a little bit about XCEL before we dive in with some questions.
Yeah, and thank you for definitely having me on here. So XCEL is based just out of Minneapolis. We have two facilities out there, two production facilities. One is all flexible media, graphics related media, and then the second division is all SEG framing, where we build everything in-house. And to me, that does seem to be the trend in the industry, and that's the portion that's significantly growing within the industry.
Cool. So who are the ideal customers for these applications and these frame types?
So typically it's, the printer that's out there, it has traditionally been retail driven. However, because of the expansion in fabric, you've seen it expand into a lot of different types of areas. Retail it started with, but you see a lot more trade show displays going to this type of thing. You're seeing them pop up in short-term applications, whether it be sports arenas or museums, even longer-term types of applications like airports, just for ease of use and ease of installation, and really a professional look on top of that. So it has truly expanded outside of just the retail industry.
Yeah, I know I was talking to you not too long ago about a trade show that I had gone to, and we kept seeing all these frames that were printed, and the entire booth was built that way, and you're like, yep, we did that one, we did that one, we did that one. I'm like, it was mind-blowing how good they looked and how it completely transformed a space. I mean, you could basically build whatever you want. So seeing that there's so many different things out there in this market, what sets you guys apart from all the other people that are doing this?
So what sets us apart is we have over 40 plus extrusions that are out there, and all these profiles are domestically produced. All of these are custom built in Minnesota, and all of these profiles are proprietary to our type of frame that's out there. So at the end of the day, everything's domestically built. We have the inventory in stock. We have in-house engineering team that can help support this, and that really is what sets us apart compared to what most types of frames are out there.
So made in the USA, that's always great to hear. Are there any size limitations that we need to worry about with this?
Not necessarily any size limitations. The smaller you go, the more difficult to actually put a type of fabric in there. From a limitation as you start building larger, we just have to be aware of putting extra support in there so the frame doesn't necessarily sag. Or if it's a backlit frame, we need to make sure that we have a different type of backlit system to make sure that there's no hot spots or there's no dead spots behind the fabric that's actually noticeable. So just depending on what size you're looking for, we can go the larger. Some people think the better. We just need to make sure that we're aware of that so we can build to the spec to make sure that it fits the expectations of the end user.
So you keep mentioning fabric, so that brings up kind of my next question. What type of fabrics do we recommend using with your system, and is there a specific brand that you in particular like?
Yeah, absolutely. So depending on the type of application that you see out there, there's a couple different options for non-lit types of frames, but then there's also a backlit fabric specifically for lit frames that are out there. And then depending if you're doing a double-sided type of frame that might be freestanding, then you typically look for a blockout type of a fabric. There are a lot of different types of fabric manufacturers out there. U-Fabric is one of the best in the industry. You can actually contact your local LexJet rep, or you can go onto lexjet.com to take a look at what their options are. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to three types of applications. Is it non-lit, is it backlit, or is it a blockout type of fabric?
Gotcha. Now, I mentioned trade shows and airports, but what are some other high-profile applications where we would see something like this?
So you start to see a lot more pop up, and this is more for ease of installation, but you see them more in museums, you see them in schools or universities. you can go ahead and you can see them in sports arenas or special events like golf outings and that type of thing. And it really comes down to the simplicity of shipping, the simplicity of installation, and then the professional image that the fabric shows. So at the end of the day, you're seeing the expansion outside of just the retail side or just the exposition side.
Yeah, I think last time we talked, you showed me an image either of a concert stage or a sports event stage, but that you had done the sides of everything and basically completely encaged the stage for this event, and it was spectacular. It was to a scale beyond what I could possibly imagine. It was really, really neat to see. What types of frames and extrusions are there in this system?
So for a frame or an extrusion that's out there, there's several different types of non-lit, there's several different types of backlit, and then there's some other specialty ones in there as well. Typically when you're talking a non-lit type of material, is it going to end up being wall mounted or is it going to be freestanding? And then is it going to be single-sided or is it going to be double-sided? And then you also have, do you want the economy version, which is really a thinner profile, or do you want something that's a little bit more robust? And there's always variations depending on what the budget might be, what the end application might be, or the size of the application. So it always does vary, but there's always a couple different options for a non-lit, a backlit, and then you have some specialty types of profiles that are out there that might go into a window that is really what we call reverse load, where you can have an image facing outside the window, but then you have something internally that's facing the inside, say maybe of a retail store, that would be something a little bit more unique, a little bit different, but shows two different images depending on what the end user is actually looking for.
Yeah, so you did mention specialty. Are there any other specialty type frames that you have?
Yeah, and we have a couple different types of specialty frames out there, and at the end of the day, these are more unique. These are more something that maybe our in-house engineering team can help kind of direct and support what the type of application is. We do bend some to where they're more circle-driven, something like that drops from the top of, say, a convention center for a trade show booth, or maybe it drops from the top of, say, a retail station to, for wayfinding or maybe promotional pieces or anything like that. So we do a couple different types of specialty types of frames that are out there, and it really just comes down to what the client's looking for, and we can adapt along outside of that to make sure it fits what the expectations are.
Now, are these frames recyclable?
All of our frames are recyclable. You can go ahead and you can send them up to our facility. More times than not, you'll end up seeing that our frames are permanent, so you see the fabric, right, getting recycled more times than not. However, you end up seeing sometimes either they're going to change the dimensions on the frame, or the frame was bent, or somehow it got damaged, or really they're replacing it with something completely different. At the end of the day, all of our frames can be recycled, and we actually build recycling programs for that. So that'd be something that we would do on a one-off basis, depending on what the needs are of the client.
But the nice thing is these aren't one-time use frames. These are, you could change the display over and over. So if you build this as a 36 by 36 inch display, for example, and after 6 months you decide I want to change the program or change whatever I'm showing, you keep your frame and just change what's printed and put on it.
Correct, and this is where the significance of these types of materials have come into play, and that's where you see the significant growth, is we go ahead and we build something like that, and that's permanent. Well, now you're shipping the fabric in a small container versus shipping a large board or something that's going to be easily damaged in shipment. But then once the frame's actually up, you don't necessarily need that professional installation. So if you're shipping it to, say, a large retailer that's out there, one of their employees can go ahead and put it up and really make it simple from the installation, where you're not hiring somebody, you're not waiting for someone to come in to install these. It's something that can be happen and can be done right then and there. So it's really, it's a cost savings, spot from that end. However, you still have that professional look from the fabric.
So from a perspective as a business owner, when I install one of these, I've basically built in a return customer, because they're going to take that frame, and as their business changes and grows or whatever they're doing from a sales perspective, they don't have to reprint something and bring in an entire new assembly. They can come back to you because they know you're going to print exactly what I need the way I need it to fit into this. So it's almost guaranteeing return business every time they want to change the display, but it's a quick, easy change, right?
Correct, and that's where the frame is actually a more permanent structure, right? However, whether it's a year-long advertisement or they're changing their website or their background logo or something to that extent, you know that you're going to get that repeat business. So the frame more so than not is permanent, but whether it's a change out, whether it's a new item for the fall or a new launch for the fall, or maybe it's just the latest and greatest technology that's out there, you understand that that's going to end up being the repeat business, and that's where you're, in the long run, going to win, because more times than not, they're just going to continue to come back to their source, and we have the dimensions, right? So we can go ahead and we can build that fabric to fit that frame without any second guessing or miscalculations or anything like that.
And that brings us to the Keter system, because that's what they're using to be able to pull out the old one and pop the new one in. Talk to me a little bit about the type of Keter system you have and just the ease of installation, because I saw you do it. It looked like it was just, you could almost do it with your eyes closed.
So Keter, and there's a couple different variations of Keter that are out there. For our specific extrusions or our profiles, we fit a 3 millimeter by 12 millimeter or a 3 millimeter by 14 millimeter. And really the 3 millimeter by 14 millimeter seems to be the industry standard. That fits in very easily. Some people are just going to the 3 by 12, just more from a cost savings option more than anything else. There's a little bit less material that's in there. It still fits our frames very, very well, but those are the two options that you end up seeing out there. There are others that you see, whether it be a 4 mil by 12 millimeter or 1.5 millimeter by 12 millimeter, but at the end of the day, the most common is 3 millimeter by 12 and 3 millimeter by 14, and they both fit the exact same frame.
So let's talk about how these are hung and how they're displayed. What type of hardware do we need in terms of being able to put these on display?
Great question. So when we go ahead and we build every single frame, whether it's small or whether it's large, we go ahead and we make sure that everything is inclusive in the frame. So depending on the size, right, you'll get pieces and parts to go ahead and hang them very, very easily. So it's not something that you have to second guess or you have to call out. If it's wall mounted, we'll go ahead and we'll put the proper pieces in there. If it's freestanding, we'll go ahead and we'll make sure that the feet are there. So when you go ahead and you receive the box, you'll end up seeing every single piece is accounted for. Now, I always make sure that we double check everything to make sure that we have all the pieces and parts, just as if you were to get a TV or something like that. Sometimes you throw away something here and there. So what we end up doing is we double count and triple count everything. We actually go ahead and send a checklist as well as everything that's in there. And then everything at the end of the day is all inclusive. So you can go ahead and you can just start to build, and then you can attach it to the wall or attach it to the feet to make it freestanding.
So you're saving me a trip to the local hardware store. I can just get into this system right away, and I know I have everything I need before I even get started.
Correct. All pieces are included, so it's very simple. Just open up the boxes and make sure you have your handy screwdriver to make sure that you can tighten everything up and make everything look professional.
That's what I like to hear. So let's talk about lead time. Let's say I come to you with a specialty project and I need this put together. What type of turnaround time are we looking for something like this?
Depending on the project, right, depending on the size, everything like that, all of our sticks, right, all of our materials in stock, right, so it's just something of a matter of us building for you, okay? So when we go ahead and we do that, depending on the size or the project, right, it might be 3 to 5 day lead time. However, if it's a large national rollout, we'll go ahead and we'll accommodate to the best interest of you. So if we need X amount of pieces a week or X amount of pieces a month, that's something that we can go ahead and build to make sure that it hits your deadlines. But for most projects that we see out there, it's typically 3 to 5 days shipping out of the Minneapolis area.
So if I have something specialized, that's something where you're going to have a conversation with me, look at what it is that I'm trying to do that's beyond what your norm is, and you'll kind of give us a quote based on that, or do you kind of have a system that lets you know?
Everything that we do is custom. Okay, now sometimes it's simple, right? Sometimes you say, hey, I want this non-lit and I want it these dimensions and I need 3 of them, and we'll go ahead and we'll quote accordingly and we'll put the lead time in there. For others, it might be just something that's a concept, right, that's in your mind, and from that standpoint, we actually have our own in-house engineering team that's certified in SolidWorks that can go ahead and they can build that from concept. Now, we also do have some 3D printers in-house as well, so we can help build those, and usually that's within a couple week turnaround time to make sure that we get exactly what you're looking for. But we do that all in-house, so if it's just something that you have written down on a sheet of paper or something that you're just kind of helping us or you want us to help you guide, that's something that we can easily go ahead and build for you. And then it's just a matter of you signing off on it, and then we'll take it into production. And then from there, it just depends on what the size is and what, how many pieces you're looking for, and we can build that into production.
That's next level service. Now, I've seen these in silver and black. If I wanted a specific color, do you guys have other color options available?
We do, and traditionally it's always been silver, and we've seen more interest in black, so now most of our products are actually silver and black. However, we can go ahead and custom color powder coat. So if you're looking for a specialized blue or green or whatever else it might be, that is something that we can go ahead and do. And that has become very trendy over the last couple of years, just for the fact that that's a differentiation between every other traditional profile that's out there.
So these specialty services you talked about, where you do all this in-house help with the design, what type of customer would need those, and when would they need those?
So for some of the additional support that we offer, it really varies client by client, just depending on what they're looking for and what they can do in-house. Some companies like to build everything in-house, send us the specs, and then we can go ahead and build to it. Others don't have that in-house type of support, so they rely on us to do those types of things. At the end of the day, it's all free of charge. It's all inclusive on what our products are or what we actually deliver, and that's another reason what separates us from some of the competition out there is we have everything in-house that we can do something different or something unique, or just do something outside of what typically you see in the industry.
Now, you guys have some specialty stuff like curved pieces that you mentioned and things that people might be surprised that, hey, this is something I want that's really cool and different, and you're thinking, no, we have that in stock. What are some things that you have that are already kind of there for people that are something that they might have thought was a specialty that's just regular, everyday stuff for you?
So really one product that stands out behind anything else, and I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier just in passing, is our reverse load frame. And really this actually goes into windows, so you can talk about it in a retail store or even in a school system or even in a sporting event type of or arena type of area where we can go ahead and we can put these inside windows, and then you can go ahead and you can actually put two different types of fabric in there. So something that's easily interchangeable, and you can go ahead and you can throw down different types of objects out there, whether it's in a retail display, right, and you want to display one image facing out and then a completely different facing in. And then as seasons change or new clothing lines change or new technology changes, you can just go ahead and you can go ahead and swap them out very, very easily. And that's something that isn't really well known in the industry, but I think it's an absolutely great opportunity, and it's very unique because it goes in windows where most people think, if it's in a retail display, it's on an end cap, or if it's in, an exhibit booth, right, it's just a freestanding type of display. This is something that most people don't see out there that can fit in airports and museums and churches and pretty much everywhere that has windows.
Now, I know in large part this next question is going to depend on the media or the fabric that you're using, but how do these do outside in terms of weather and things like that? If somebody's doing an outside concert or event and all of a sudden it starts raining, is this going to hold up?
It will definitely hold up, and really the way that we end up saying it is the frame will hold up, right? It's an aluminum extrusion, so it's very durable. On the flip end, it ultimately comes down to the fabric, and there's a lot of fabric that can hold up, typically for roughly about a year-ish outdoor, okay, but there are some that do and there are some that don't, and there's some that are better, there are some that are worse, so it really comes down to the type of fabric. But if you think about, say, a sporting event, or let's even say a music concert, right, that's up for a night, a weekend, a week, right, even something that might be like an outdoor exhibit, right, that's outdoor at a trade show. Well, that will definitely last, especially for the week or the week and a half or the month that it might be up. So to me, there should be no issues or no concerns from the durability of the frame.
Now, what about installation? Are we looking at a professional installer to put these up?
It really varies from a professional installation purpose. If this is a national rollout, then yes, you should likely hire a professional installer. If it is something that's a one-off that might be going into a small business like a small restaurant, then yes, you can do that in-house. And also you have to think about, is it a smaller frame? Is it a 24 by 36 inch? Or is it an 8 foot by 8 foot? At that given moment, it really kind of comes down to what do you think you can put up versus when do you think you have to hire a professional installer. While I think I can do a 24 by 36 inch frame and put it on a wall properly, would I be comfortable in putting up an 8-foot by 8-foot frame? I probably wouldn't. So that's when I would hire somebody. If you go to segframes.org, you actually can go ahead and see some professional installers that we can recommend that are out there. But then we also recommend extrusions on there and fabric as well. So it's a great resource for very many reasons, but you also have a professional installation link on there that you can go ahead and you can connect to a professional installer.
So Brian, we talked about people that need something simple and basic or somebody that needs something completely custom. Regardless of what it is, who do they need to be reaching out to make sure that they're on the right track?
Great question, and whether it's the smallest project or it's a national rollout or if it's something simple or if it's just something, like you said, extravagant, reach out to the LexJet team. They'll help you, guide you through the process, whether it be a non-lit or a backlit or something specialty or something different in size or just something unique that might just be a concept that you want to build. The best way to go about doing this is moving forward and contacting your LexJet team to go ahead and work through all the processes.
Brian, great information. Thank you so much. I learned a lot today. I'm sure everybody that's watching did too. And I'm sure there's lots of questions they're going to have. If you do have questions and you want some more information about it, like Brian said, reach out to 1-800-4LEXJET or lexjet.com.